Hello everyone, I'm Xiao Gang. Okay, before we officially start writing code, I want to walk you through this document. This document is actually quite in-depth, very detailed. So let's go through it one by one. This is its large model. Its cost is relatively low and it's free to use anyway. You can debug it online, because online you actually debug through what we call HTML or a browser, which is similar to Post. There's no issue with this. You can give it a try, and you can use the SDK here. So this list provides Python, Go, Java, Node.js, SDK. This SDK is actually similar to installing this library. Unfortunately, we found there is no C++ version. Of course, even if there were a C++ version, we couldn't use it. We do have C++, so we'll go with the web API. We won't use its SDK. So we'll ignore this part. This is the calling method of its SDK. Let's just skip it. Let's directly look at this HTTP call method. Let's jump directly to here. So HTTP indicates there are two methods. We are using this AKSK signature calculation authentication method. We are not using the SS token authentication method. Let's first look at this AKSK method. First, you request this URL. The request method is post T. Then in the header section, you'll need to add authentication information. First, you definitely have a content type because our content must be a JSON. Then in this place, you need to pass in the time. Then this place, authorization. Isn't authorization very familiar? Then this place also has some signing mechanisms. We can see at this point, it tells you blah blah how to sign. Actually, it just encrypts the key information. We'll just ignore it. Then this place has a signing tool, and then you can use this thing. You can play around with it. That is the access key and secret key. The signing time has a validity period. Then on the signature, this pattern is not pattern. Then what parameter? This thing is largely the same. If you then search on Baidu, it's better. It provides this thing to you. Then when you sign it like this, you can get these intermediate values. You can sign with your own code and compare. That is great. This is very good. Look, Qianfan, let me find it quickly. Currently, there is no such thing. These jumps seem to exist too. I don't quite remember. Then after you calculate like this, you can get this. This one is relatively simple. It's just these front-end things. You can just enter valid values here yourselves. We'll go through it directly in the code later. And this is a signature calculation. That is why and how to sign initially. What is the version of the signature and how to sign? I'll guide you through writing this because I spent a long time finally getting this to work, so you don't need to waste time on it. If you haven't worked on this before or haven't worked with this particular one, you will find that this is actually very time consuming, even if you have done it before, but he does it in a different way. It's different again. And this method means you'll first access a credential and then use that credential to access again. Then we won't use this method because this method seems to require one more HTTP request. It's more troublesome. I think, yes, look. This method requires another HTTP request. That should be the case. Let's just ignore it. We'll just use the first method. Okay, let's close this too. We'll just use this one. This kind of SS generates its own signature. This AKSK signature suggests this method. So let's look at its parameters. Then we mainly look at this body parameter. The body parameter is a JSON. The JSON contains some fields. This is the history information. Remember in our first lesson, we showed you that blueprint. That was quite simple. You just need to copy it over. It's just some parameters we define in the strut. Then add these comments to it, and then it's done. And something worth noting. Look here, some of them are yes. So the way it's written here is still open to discussion. If we use a struct, it will pass a default value. If it doesn't pass a default value, this thing will be very uncomfortable. Okay, let's wait a moment. Let's wait a moment here in our place. We will define it for everyone. This should be next lesson. Next lesson. Here, this request type. Here, we can compare the defined ones for everyone to see. This way. Everyone will be very clear. This avoids everyone. Just me talking in a vacuum here. Without everyone know what I'm talking about. Okay, here, we set it to switch URLs for each sentence. We'll ignore this. You can see this is the information we requested, and here we did not use our JSON object convert. We use the factory method because some fields are not allowed. That is, this field is difficult to determine whether it exists or not. So we handle it here only if the user has this field. Will we construct this field? If this field is not present and we construct this field, then that would be wrong, and it would simply be incorrect. Therefore, we are not using the raw object convert here. Let's also practice this way. Our factory, because the factory approach is the most powerful approach and also the most flexible, but it is particularly troublesome to write. I will guide everyone to writing it. There's not much to say about this class parameter. Let me take another look. This message, this is an object. As for the response parameters, actually what corresponds for us is the response parameters inside this. Here, you can see. Here, these parameters are actually the same as what we wrote for Amphi. But you can see we defined so many, because we integrated both streaming and non-streaming altogether. You can see our Respire info has this many. So that's the reason why it's like this. Because if it's non-streaming, it actually is this. Look at this field. We don't even want to write comments here because it's really too long. You can just look at this document. Okay, so this is what it ultimately needs to return. This is the number of tokens you consumed because it's free now. You could say everyone can register. With this permission, you can use it. Remember, you need to activate it. After you register, you need to go to the Qianfan cloud platform. To activate it, the API is here. It's at my place, at Model Square here. Take a look. Anyway, everyone look for it. This is also relatively simple. It's just a very simple form to fill out. A list like this. Click here, then find it here. Here then, find our TWINK. Listen to 8K, something like that. Just find the corresponding item. You see, in this place, it's all, so everyone needs to be patient and take a look. We won't guide you through step by step on this. Then, let's continue. These are require info and respond info. Next, let's take a look at the several request methods. First, we request the non-streaming type, singleton. So, by using this method, you send the information over, right? After it goes back, it will return such a response to you. This is the simplest method, and if it's multi-turn, then there is one context of previous turns. When sending it like this, just add a couple more lines of information. Then when responding, it responds like this. If it's streaming, then there will be an additional stream here. In the response, there will be an additional stream parameter. For streaming, it goes like da 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 da. The data it sends back is like da da da, but it doesn't send it to you in chunks. It might be like this. Why is the streaming so difficult to write? Because when it cuts, it doesn't necessarily cut sentence by sentence because it uses HTTP for streaming, not WebPort for streaming. If we have used iFly tag before, streaming via WebSocket is very convenient because it sends one sentence at a time, right? But with this method, the first sentence you receive might be this, then the second sentence you receive might be this, and the third sentence you receive might be this. So you have to, after each reception, do a tier might, byte kind of thing. Determine the characters in the host's judgment to do the segmentation stage by yourself. So this place is particularly troublesome. So this is the streaming download. This kind of streaming download uses this protocol. I think should use Wattons. That would be better. We will talk about wedge packet later. Don't worry about that. No problem. And then there's error code. Nothing much to say. It's just this kind of primary and secondary service. These error codes. Okay, so this document has been briefly gone through for everyone. Actually, you don't need to. It is actually both difficult and simple. It is essentially sending a required info and then receiving a response info. Okay, that concludes this lesson for everyone. Thank you all.